Every modern business needs to connect Odoo with external systems. Whether it's syncing contacts to a CRM, feeding data to a mobile app, or building custom integrations, you need a reliable API. The REST API module gives you a fully customizable RESTful interface for Odoo with OAuth2 authentication, custom endpoints, built-in documentation, and traffic monitoring. Let's set it all up from scratch. Open the Settings app. In the top menu bar, you'll find the API section. It's organized into several areas. Overview has the dashboard where you manage your OAuth applications, plus traffic and logging for monitoring. Configuration lets you set up OAuth1, OAuth2, and custom endpoints. And under documentation, you'll find the interactive API docs and the client generator. Let's start with the dashboard. This is the OAuth dashboard. Each card represents an OAuth application. You can see the app name, the company, and the number of active sessions. The cards are color-coded, and you can archive or configure each one from the drop-down menu. Notice there are already several demo configurations set up for different OAuth2 grant flows. Let's open the backend application flow to see how an OAuth2 configuration works. This is the client credentials grant type, which is perfect for server-to-server integrations where no user interaction is needed. At the top, you see the client key and client secret. These are the credentials your external application uses to authenticate. You can use the copy button to quickly grab the key. The OAuth type is set to client credentials, which means the app authenticates directly without a user login flow. The security setting controls access restrictions. Basic means no route restrictions. Advanced enables fine-grained access rules per endpoint. The default callback is used for authorization code flows. For client credentials, you assign a user whose permissions the API inherits. The Callbacks tab lists the allowed redirect URLs for authorization flows. This is essential for web and mobile app grant types. Now let's switch to the advanced security configuration. When security is set to advanced, an access rules tab appears. Here you can restrict which API routes this application can call and add parameter level expressions. For example, you can limit an app to only search the contacts model. Now let's look at custom endpoints. Navigate to configuration, then endpoints. These let you create your own API routes without writing a controller. Here you see all custom endpoints. Each one has a name, HTTP method, URL, model, and type. The type can be domain for simple filtered queries or code for custom Python logic. All three demo endpoints are active and ready to use. This is the list contacts endpoint, a GET request at the route contacts. The type is domain, which means it uses Odoo's domain filter to select records. No code needed. Below you see the domain builder. An empty domain returns all records. The Domain Fields tab restricts which fields are returned. Here, just name and email. The Wrap Response toggle adds a response envelope with metadata. And notice the Open Docs button. It links directly to the documentation for this endpoint. Now the Get Contact endpoint. This one uses the code type, which gives you full Python control. The code editor has access to the request parameters, the model, the Odoo environment, and helper functions. This endpoint takes an ID parameter, looks up the partner, and returns a complete contact object including the address, parent company, child contacts, tags, and bank accounts. You can raise exceptions for error handling, like bad requests for missing parameters or not found for invalid IDs. Every endpoint has a Docs tab where you configure the API documentation. You can set a summary, a description, request parameters with their types and validation rules, and response schemas with examples. These settings feed directly into the Swagger documentation so external developers see accurate, complete docs. You can also toggle default response codes like 200, 400, 401, and 500. Now let's open the API documentation. This is the interactive Swagger interface. You get a complete open API specification with every route documented, authentication flows, request parameters, and response schemas, all auto-generated from the module. Notice the Authorize button at the top right. That's where you connect with your OAuth2 credentials. Click Authorize and enter the client key and secret from the backend application flow we just saw. Select the grant type client credentials and click Authorize. Now all API calls from the Swagger interface will use this OAuth2 token automatically. This is how external applications authenticate too. The documentation is organized by category. Common covers authentication and session management. Custom shows your custom endpoints. File handles attachments and uploads. And model endpoints cover the standard CRUD operations. Search, read, create, write, unlink, plus advanced operations like search, read, and read group. Every endpoint shows its HTTP method, parameters, and expected response format. Let's test the API. Open the search read endpoint and click Try it out. Enter the model partner and the field's name, email, and phone. Click Execute. The Swagger UI shows the exact curl command, the request URL, and the full JSON response with the matching records. Since we authenticated with OAuth2, the request succeeds and returns real data. This makes testing your API effortless. Scroll down and you'll find the custom section. These are the custom endpoints you created earlier. Let's test the list contacts endpoint. Click Try it out and execute. The response returns all contacts filtered and formatted exactly as configured. Each custom endpoint has its own documentation that external developers can use as a reference. Now let's switch to the Model Explorer. This gives you a complete overview of every model in Odoo. On the left, all available models are grouped by module. Select Partner, the contacts model. The fields table shows every field with its name, type, whether it's required, and which module defines it. Below the fields, you'll find the model's methods. Expand Search Read to see its parameters. Click Execute to test it right from the Explorer. The response shows real data from your Odoo instance. This makes it effortless for developers to explore and test the API before writing integration code. Back in Odoo, under Documentation, you'll find the client generator. Select a programming language and click Generate to download a complete client library based on the API specification. This saves hours of setup time. Now let's look at monitoring. Under Overview, traffic shows a chart of all API requests over time. You can spot traffic patterns, peak hours, and unusual spikes. Switch to the Pivot view for a detailed breakdown by URL, status code, and time period. The Logging view shows every individual API request. Each row has the timestamp, HTTP method, URL, status code with color coding, and the user. Click any entry to see the full detail. The Request tab shows the raw request data. The Response tab shows exactly what the API returned. This is invaluable for debugging integration issues. Finally, in General Settings, you'll find the API configuration block. Doc Security lets you restrict API documentation access to a specific user group. OAuth1 and OAuth2 sections control token expiration and cleanup. And rate limiting lets you cap the number of requests per user within a time window, protecting your server from abuse. That covers the complete setup. You now have a fully functional REST API with OAuth2 authentication, custom endpoints, interactive documentation, and comprehensive monitoring. REST API for Odoo. Your data, your rules, your API.